Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when and where you're viewing this. My name is Mike. I am the Crypto Liberal. Thank you for joining me again today. Saturday, the markets are boring as you know what, right? Nothing's happening. It's like you might as well just close it down like the stock market because crypto is not moving. So today we're going to talk a little bit. We'll talk about the markets because tomorrow is kind of a big day for it's the close of the week, the weekly. So we could end up with a 10th weekly red candle in a row for Bitcoin. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll talk about ADA and Cardano and how that's looking as compared to Bitcoin, because I've showed you that bullish chart on here before, on my channel before, and it is looking so bullish, that ADA chart. So we'll cover that real quick again because that's going to be big for the weekly close tomorrow. But we're going to start with a little bit of information on that mining moratorium that New York, the Senate passed yesterday or the day before now, and all the FUD that's surrounding it. Then the FUD is coming from the crypto industry itself. So if any of that sounds good to you, give me a like, give me a subscribe, follow me on crypto Twitter. I always call it crypto Twitter. It's opposed to everything else I follow on Twitter. Anyway, follow me on Twitter at crypto_liberal if you are so inclined. I'm trying to bring you some valuable information here, and I hope you appreciate it. And I want to share this journey with you and hear your journey as well. So give me a like, give me a subscribe, hit the bell for notifications when I put out a new video. I put out one every day at least, sometimes two. I put out some videos when I go. I put out some videos when I go hiking, right? And but I haven't been out hiking, getting over my COVID, feeling better every day, and so that's good. So let's start with the New York bill. And to stop the spread of FUD, you need to know what's in the bill before you just start opining on it, right? Half the people that are talking about this New York bill on Twitter and YouTube don't even know what's in the bill. So let's start there because that's most important. So the bill, there's really three parts to it. So this is section 2 here. Whoops, get back. Section 2 here, right? And it starts with this section 19, well, section 2 of the bill, but it's section 19-0331 that they're putting into the New York Code. And it says, and I'm going to kind of read from it here, right? For the period commencing on the effective date of this section, and the effective date is going to be when and if the governor signs it, right? The governor has to sign this to make it law. If the governor doesn't sign it, everything I'm about to say is null and void. If the governor signs it, then it takes effect on her signature. So for the period beginning on the effective date and ending 2 years after the date, so this only has an effective period of 2 years, the department, which is I think the Department of Environmental Conservation in New York, after consultation with the Department of Public Service, may not approve a new application for or issue a new permit pursuant to this article, or Article 70 of this chapter, for an electric generating facility that utilizes a carbon-based fuel and that provides, in whole or in part, behind-the-meter electric energy consumed or utilized by cryptocurrency mining operations that use proof-of-work authentication methods to validate blockchain transactions. Okay, so what does all that mean? So basically, on the effective date of this law, which would be when the governor signs it, the date that she signs it, the department who issues new permits to generate energy or electric energy may not, right? The bill says shall not, but in my prior life, I worked for a bank, and I I worked for a bank, and this is what I did all day long. I read financial mortgage laws daily, laws and regulations from all 50 states, literally all 50 states, and the feds. And so you read the word shall not, and I can't tell you why. I don't know. I'd argue with the business side of the company, who thought shall meant, well, maybe, maybe not. Shall means no, absolutely not, no. So the department, in this case, the Department of Environmental Conservation, may not approve a new application or issue a permit for to generate electricity that utilizes a carbon-based fuel, meaning like coal or natural gas or oil or something of that nature, and that provides in whole or in part behind the meter electric energy consumed or utilized by a cryptocurrency mining operation that uses proof of work authentication methods. So if you are a miner, essentially this means if you are a miner and you want to go in New York, take over there's, they have like uh, coal fired plants that were taken offline years ago, probably, because New York has very stringent um, requirements that they're trying to meet in the next decade or so, to reduce their carbon footprint, and they're very strict. And New York is kind of on the cutting edge of this to combat climate change, right? So if so, they have dormant coal-fired plants. Well, if you were a mining operator, you could conceivably go in and take over this coal-fired plant, fire it back up, start shoveling coal in, and to fuel your mining operation. Well, on the effective date of this act, you can't do that, which makes sense, right? I mean, climate change is a real thing, people. So, I how can you blame New York for this, right? So, and they don't want coal-fired plants firing up, and I don't blame anybody for not wanting that. In your if it was in your neighborhood, you wouldn't want it. So I get it, right? So no new permits on the effective date of this act. That's that kind of that section one. Well, now there's a section two, so let's go to that. So this next section, for the period commencing on the effective date of the act, again, when she signs the bill into law, and ending 2 years after, the department may not approve an application to renew an existing permit or issue a renewal permit, for an electric generating facility that utilizes carbon-based fuel. So this is people that already have, you're grandfathered in, essentially, right? If you're got that coal-fired plant going already and you're mining off of that coal, hey, you get to keep doing it until your permit. Well, so then you'll have to renew your permit, presumably. I'm not sure exactly how many years your permit runs for, but so you won't, upon issuing, you won't be able to renew an existing permit or issue a renewal permit for an electric generating facility utilizing a carbon-based fuel that provides in whole or in part behind the meter electric energy consumed or utilized by a cryptocurrency mining operation that uses proof of work. If the renewal application seeks to increase or will allow or result in an increase in the amount of electric energy consumed or utilized by a cryptocurrency mining operation that uses proof of work authentication methods. So what is that saying, essentially? Right? Again, it's not, if you have that coal-fired plant up and running, and you go back to get your permit renewed, as long as you're not saying, well, we're going to increase our operations by 50% and we're going to need to use 50% more coal for the next how many ever years our permit runs, that they can't deny you on that application, right? It's only if you're wanting to increase your consumption of energy on that carbon powered electric generation. So again, it makes sense, right? You're grandfathered in if you already have that mining operation going, and if you're a new miner and you want to fire up some coal-fired plant or natural gas or oil or whatever, it's carbon-based, you're just not going to be able to do it for 2 years, and just 2 years, right? Or don't rely on the carbon. Go to hydroelectric, which New York is on the forefront of, from my understanding. Is there's a lot of power out there that that you can use that isn't based on carbon, nuclear. And so again, that's, to me, this makes sense so far. Okay, so then the third section is really nothing that impacts the miners today. Um, so the then there's this generic environmental impact statement. So the Department of Environmental Conservation, in consultation with the Department of Public Service, shall prepare, pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, a generic environmental impact statement on cryptocurrency mining operations that use proof of work authentication methods to validate blockchain transactions. The generic environmental impact shall address, at a minimum, the number and location of existing cryptocurrency mining operations that use proof of work. And then I'm not going to cover the other ones, but there's like 15 other items that this report is supposed to collect to determine the impact, the climate impact that current mining operations have on the environment. So it's kind of an environmental impact statement that the department is supposed to collect for those next 2 years. So that again makes sense, right? Okay, we're just gonna everybody's grandfathered in. We just don't want to see a big increase of new, carbon polluting mining operations coming in for 2 years while we study the impact of this industry, this nascent industry, on our state and the world, right? And our citizens. Makes total sense to me. So, and the other, so there's an article on it here that I kind of copied. Oh, and then, we saw in, like, it talked about behind the meter, right? And I wasn't totally sure what behind the meter meant. I kind of had an idea. So I went to, that's the first thing. Like I said, I did this for 15, 20 years, read laws all day long. That's kind of what I did. But the first thing you do when you get a new bill or a new law that passed and you're trying to figure out its impact is the first thing you do, find the definitions. So I tried to find a behind the meter definition in the New York Code and New York regulations, and I couldn't find one really quickly. It's probably there somewhere. I just needed to dig a little more. But so I Googled it. That's what next thing you do when you don't find something real quick, and you want to get a video out. If I was doing a job, actually, I would probably dig a little more into the code to see if one existed. But anyway, so behind the meter, and this is kind of what I thought it meant, but and behind the meter, I'm going to go to the second paragraph here, means behind the meter systems can provide energy directly to your home or business without going through an electric meter and interacting with the electric grid. If electricity has to pass through your electric meter to reach your property, then electricity came from in front of the meter or the grid. If electricity doesn't need to pass through an electric meter to reach your property, then electricity came from a behind the meter system. All electricity end customers sit behind the meter. So what does that mean, right? What does that mean? That means if you got a little, you sit at your home and you're mining, and you got a little mining rig in your house, in your basement, this doesn't impact you because you're in front of the meter, okay? Another more FUD that we'll cover in a second that is out there because everybody's freaking out that, oh my God, we're not going to be able to mine and it's going to impact my Bitcoin that I have or whatever. It's just ridiculous. So it doesn't impact, Joe and Sandra in Albany who have a mining rig in their basement, right? It's that instance I told you about where a company with millions of dollars in funding from somewhere goes in and fires up a coal-fired plant that's been dormant for 5 years or whatever, and they're not sharing the electricity they're generating, right, with the community because they're in front of the meter. They're just taking it before it goes through a meter and using that electricity behind the meter to conduct their mining operations. So that's who this is aimed at, right? Okay. So then here's the article that I was talking about. So I just copied a paragraph or two. So New York has long been seen as a place for crypto mining firms to set up because of the state's cheap hydroelectric energy sources. So again, this doesn't impact that, right? In more recent years, mining firms have also repurposed defunct coal power generation facilities. Greenridge Generation, for example, refurbished one such facility to operate using natural gas. Again, right? It won't impact Greenridge Generation. What we just discussed. It doesn't impact non-carbon electric generation stations or generation services. So hydroelectric wouldn't impact that. It doesn't impact currently operating miners, because unless they're trying to greatly expand their operations, they're grandfathered in, right? We read those two things. So it doesn't impact any of this in that first paragraph. The crypto industry rallied against the bill after its assembly counterpart was introduced last May, with many industry advocates calling the proposal a ban, not a ban, on mining outright. It's not a ban. We just covered it, right? You're grandfathered in if you're already doing it. You can still do it if you're not relying on carbon-based energy, and you can continue to do it even if you are relying on carbon-based energy, as long as you're not greatly expanding your operation. So it's not a ban. John Olson, a lobbyist with the Bitcoin Association, told CoinDesk last month that he feared the moratorium could be extended or turned into a ban over the course of the next 2 years, which could drive away companies seeking to set up shop near New York's cheap energy sources. So again, right? Not a ban. And this ploy, it's used on both sides of the aisle, right? If something passes, it's just a way to get the foot in the door, and the government's going to take away everything, right? That's what the gun nuts are saying now, right? If you ban an AR-15, or if you tell an 18-year-old he can't buy an AR-15, that's just the government getting their foot in the door to take away all our guns. No person has ever said we're going to take away all your guns, even though I wouldn't even care. I'd take them all away for all I care. But it's ridiculous to say that this 2-year moratorium is the New York government's way to get their foot in the door to ban everything, to ban all mining. I mean, come on, FUD. That's FUD, and it's coming from the crypto industry itself. That's FUD. And we're going to cover some more FUD from the crypto industry. And to be honest, it's all Bitcoin maxi people. All Bitcoin maxi people that are spreading this FUD. So let's go back. Let's go to the FUD. So the FUD, Jake Chervinsky. Now, I kind of like Jake. I've used to follow him, but I don't anymore because of stuff like this. So he just starts out by saying, you wouldn't believe the tricks that they had to pull to get this Bitcoin mining ban passed in the dark of night. Okay. There were no tricks. No tricks, Jake. It passed. It passed the way bills pass, right? I mean, it's not like they did it illegally or whatever. And yeah, maybe they did it late at night, but their term was ending. They had to be done with their term in Albany by a certain time. So they were working pretty much around the clock. So dark of night, and it's not a ban. I mean, there's so many things wrong with this first sentence. So FUD from a Bitcoin maxi. Okay. Then let's continue on. So this person, I don't even know who this person is, but I came across it, and here, this is FUD, man. Oh my goodness. Wait, does New York want to force electricity providers to spy on their retail customers to ensure that there is no Bitcoin mining in any home? And he highlights this behind the meter sentence in his tweet. FUD from Bitcoin maxis. No, they're not. It doesn't apply to people mining in their basement. We just covered that. They're not behind the meter, right? So again, FUD. Don't listen to this crap. Okay, more FUD. Then we get good old Pomp, who is a huge Bitcoin maxi. And I should bring it back up. He posts disinformation all the time. He has a tweet out there that says 50%, more than 50% of Americans don't pay any federal taxes, and I called him out on it and broke it down, and he left the tweet up. He never corrected himself. So that shows you right there. If you're not willing to correct misinformation you're putting out, then whatever. But he says Bitcoin mining protects a person's private property. New York is explicitly attacking American citizens' right to protect their private property with their proposed Bitcoin mining ban. Not a ban. This will likely be deemed a violation of the Fifth Amendment and unconstitutional. There are so many things wrong. There's so many things wrong with that statement. It is not unconstitutional. If let's say you have, first of all, Bitcoin mining isn't banned. You can mine, with nuclear energy. You can mine with hydroelectric energy, right? If you're mining with carbon-based energy, you can still do it, right? So if you're grandfathered in, unless you want to do it, start anew or expand your operations, and it's only for 2 years. So it's not a ban. You can still do it. Second of all, the government has the authority to limit the environmental harm you are doing to the community, to the state, to the nation, if it's warranted, right? Think of somebody that has a plot of land with a mountain on it, and that mountain they find somehow has gold. Can that person do anything they want to extract that gold? No, you can't, right? You can't just start pouring, some, I don't know, you can't pour arsenic all up and down that mountain and have it flow into streams and go down river and infect the oceans and kill off all the fish and poison thousands of people, right? You can't do that. So this is no different. Why does the crypto industry think they're beyond reproach? They're beyond the reach of environmental laws that apply to everybody, right? So, the crypto industry should be taking the lead and saying, hey, we support this. We will continue. Everything I hear from the crypto industry is that it's leading the green revolution. Well, then you should, if crypto is leading the green revolution, you should be all over this. You should be encouraging the use of hydroelectric, solar, whatever, green energy practices, instead of, whining about not being able to contribute greenhouse gases to the environment in a time of climate change, when, even ExxonMobil has green initiatives to limit its carbon footprint, right? So why does crypto feel they're special? So it's not unconstitutional. The government has a legitimate reason to limit the carbon footprint of the Bitcoin mining industry, and it's not limiting your right to protect your property. If he's worried that you can't mine, and you can't mine, and therefore you can't protect your property. Yes, you can mine. Go in front of the meter. You set up a building, fill it with computers, and mine. And if you're in front of the meter, it's not banned, or not. It's not precluded by this bill, right? This is only behind the meter stuff. So it's all FUD. It's FUD. It's whining. It's these Bitcoin maximalists who get on Twitter every day and complain about the FUD. They complain about. Oh, where are we going? Yeah, so here, right? So these Bitcoin maximalists, they get on Twitter every day and complain about the FUD. And the FUD that comes from government officials, the FUD that comes from the press, the FUD that comes from, non-Bitcoin maximalists. They whine about FUD all the time. So then what happens when they get one little wrench thrown in their master plan? They start complaining. They start fudding. We're not going to be able to do anything. We're not going to be able to do anything. They're banning Bitcoin. They're banning computers. I saw that argument on Twitter. New York hates computers, or you can't protect your property. It's unconstitutional. So I had to send this tweet out. I had to send this tweet out. The FUD is coming from inside the house, right? Because that's exactly what's going on. They're the spreaders of FUD in this. It's ridiculous. So that's my spiel on the New York bill. It doesn't ban, existing carbon-based mining operations. It doesn't ban people mining in front of the meter, right? So you're mining in your home. Doesn't ban that. If you're a mining operation, you want to set up 10 billion mining rigs, do it in front of the meter. You can do that in New York under this bill. It only lasts for 2 years. It's not a foot in the door to ban everything. In fact, this next thing I have here, right? Senator Loomis out of Wyoming, a pro-insurrectionist, pro-psycho gun person, right? I'm not a big fan of her, but she's working with, ironically, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand from New York. And she basically, Loomis tweeted that they've been teasing it for months, but the time is almost here. A proposal to fully integrate digital assets into our financial system. Excited to finally unveil this effort next week. Stay tuned. So we're going to cover this when it comes out. But I think it's kind of funny that she's working on that with one of the senator from New York, Gillibrand, and New York is the center of the ire of the crypto market because of this mining moratorium. But so we're going to cover that, whatever Loomis and Gillibrand put out next week. It'll be interesting because she says it's going to, what did she say? We're going to, a proposal to fully integrate digital assets into our financial system. I mean, fully integrate digital assets. It'll be interesting to see how that really, I think she might be getting over her skis a little bit on that one. Because I don't know what she would mean by that, but we'll see. We'll cover that. So that's my spiel on the the FUD coming from inside the house. It's pretty funny. These crypto maxis. But the other thing, right, then is there is another solution besides Bitcoin that doesn't rely on proof of work and that isn't affected by this bill at all. And that is proof of stake. And the best one out there, Cardano, right? Cardano isn't impacted by this at all because it's already green as compared to Bitcoin. It uses a minute amount of energy when compared to Bitcoin. And it was designed that way. It was designed with energy conservation in mind. It was designed with climate change in mind. So, maybe you should look at another protocol because it exists and it's just as secure and hasn't gone down like Solana and is growing every day. I mean, we've talked about Cardano on this channel repeatedly and how it's just exploding, and the Vassal hard fork is coming up in less than a month, and the put through is going to be huge, greatly expanded with the Vassal hard fork. So it's just exciting what Cardano's going through right now. So anyway, so that brings me to tomorrow I'll cover this in better detail. But look at this. We've been putting in $100 every week into these three coins, BTC, ADA, and ETH. And I've told you by the end of the year, and each week we put in $100 in each. By the end of the year, ADA is going to outperform ETH, and ADA and ETH are going to outperform Bitcoin. Well, so far, look at ADA's already doing it. And I didn't even say it. I said it wouldn't happen until the end of the year, but ADA's already ahead. We've lost money on all of them, but that's to be expected right at this point, and that's why we started putting the money in 4 weeks ago, because you want to put it in before the market turns around, right? So we've still been going down a little bit. ETH has a lot of catching up to do, but I think by the end of the year it still will. So that's good, right? ADA, ADA's green and outperforming Bitcoin, and Cardano's where it's at. So let's go to the next thing to cover. Oh, let's see. Wait. Okay. One more thing I wanted to cover on ADA before we move on. So let's go to the ADA BTC chart, because this is going to be big for tomorrow. The market closed tomorrow. And we're going to go to the Coinbase chart, and I want to go to the weekly. And let's see if my nice lines show up. They do. And let's kind of reduce this a little bit. So look at this. We're still below this. See that last green candle down there, and this descending wedge. This descending wedge only has like 3-4 weeks left to play out before we either break below it. I mean, it's beautiful. Look at this. Look at this. It's just beautiful. Oh, and it's so bullish. It's so bullish. We wicked above it, this last green candle here for this week. Right now we're back within the channel, and if we close like right where we're at today on the ADA Bitcoin pair, we're still in that channel, and we got a couple weeks left for it to play out with that Vassal hard fork, right, coming up within this channel, or within the next 3 weeks. So within the next 3 weeks, whoops, where are we here? So we'll be 1, 2, 3 right there. I mean, basically at the apex of this. Man, I can't get it. 3 right there. We'll be almost pretty much right at the apex of this descending wedge, right? So if I'm of the opinion that it's going to break above that resistance line, and then ADA is going to be off to the races as compared to Bitcoin. And just kind of my thoughts right now on that. Oops, didn't want to do that. So I think ADA again ADA is looking really, really good right here. So that's ADA. But I wanted to cover also Bitcoin. So when I've been giving my opinion on Bitcoin, and I like to look at other people's thoughts on it as well. So I found this article, a couple people's thoughts on it. So let's just cover this real quick. So the first person we're going to talk about is altcoin Sherpa. So Bitcoin's slide back into its current range was expected, according to crypto trader and pseudonymous Twitter user altcoin Sherpa, who posted the following chart highlighting the price pullback into the middle of its recent trading range. So this is a 4-hour chart, and again, I don't really like it because I've been trading the daily chart, but he's just got these horizontal lines here, right? And we went back here, we went below his horizontal line, and then we've kind of bumped right up against it here. It's only got a couple touch points, but to me, it's not accounting for everything, right? We're just gonna stay, bump against this line. We wick below it several times, even closed below it. It looks like maybe right in the middle there. Yeah, I mean, it looks like we're below the line there. So I think we're missing some things here. So I'm not liking this chart really. So let's go to the next. So Altcoin Sherpa says, a bit lower is likely a better place to long, but this entire area is choppy and not very clear to me for levels. Well, it's because I think his chart is faulty, right? Would rather wait for 28.4 first. Fellow trader and pseudonymous Twitter user Shardy B2 likewise lamented the price pullback into the trading range, noting that Elon, Diamond, Goldman, etc., saying the economy is going to be shit for a while is going to weigh on markets. Not awesome back in our lower channel. Needs to hold here for our visit back to 28.6 maybe in order. Crack that and we'll get to 25.26, methinks. Okay, so analysis like that, just what does that give you, right? Well, if we go below 28.6, we might go to 26. Well, there's only there's less than a percent change there. Yeah, if we go below 26, we're probably going to go to 28, and then we're probably going to go to 27, right? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. So And then further insight into what levels to keep an eye on for good entry was offered by Emperor BTC, who posted the following chart highlighting the previous range high acting as resistance. So again, this is a 4-hour chart, I think, here. And, again, we're breaking all sorts of, no, I don't want to do that. We're breaking all sorts of, parallel horizontal lines here. And it just, again, it's not accounting for everything, right? There's nothing here. I don't get it. So I would rather, so Emperor BTC said, looks like the run to 32K was only a deviation. It was not expecting the previous range high to act as such strong resistance, expecting support at point of control now, and we'll spots there. Okay, well then, so then we'll go to, and then an estimate on how long crypto traders expect the current market struggle to persist was provided by Twitter user Crypto Rover, who posted the following chart outlining the formation of a bullish reversal pattern. Oh, finally, see, it's a daily chart, which is what I've been showing you guys on my channel, since I started the channel. And this looks a lot more like mine. His doesn't go quite back as far, but it's kind of a descending wedge. Mine's more of a descending channel, but this looks a lot more like what mine is. And I can get behind this, right? Because this lower support line, it covers all the times that we keep going lower and lower, even in the past month, right? We kind of keep edging lower and lower slowly, very slowly, but we keep edging lower and lower. So this is me and Crypto Rover are in simpatico right here, right? So I think that's the one I like. So again, let's look at my chart because it looks a lot like Crypto Rovers there. And I just wanted to give a flavor of what other people are seeing because, as I said on this channel, right, other people have been drawing symmetrical triangles, descending triangles, all this other stuff, and none of it's come to fruition. And you wonder why. It's because they're not zooming out far enough. They're not going to the daily. And that's why Crypto Rover and I kind of were in the same wavelength there, because you got to zoom out when things are just choppy like this. You can't just focus in on and go really narrow. Sorry, COVID. You can't look really narrow, otherwise you're gonna miss the forest for the trees, right? So let's look at the chart real quick. Sorry, I've been doing pretty good on this stream, but COVID eventually caught me here. So BTC, USD, and we want the Coinbase chart. That's what I use. There it is. And we want to go back to the daily, and there we go. Right? Look at that descending line of support. Look at that. It held perfectly until we broke up. Exactly. Remember, if you go back to the last weekend, I was telling you it's going to break up before Tuesday, and we did. And so not much has changed from my last couple days here of what I've been saying is going to happen. And I've been telling you, as long as we can close above 29.4 every day, I'm still looking for that 31.3 to break. If we close a daily below 29.4, well, first of all, if we close the weekly below 29.4, which is tomorrow, I think we might go back down and revisit the support line again, which isn't that much lower than where we've already been, right? But if we can maintain over 29.4 until the start of the new week, at least I think the first thing we need to do is get past this 31.3. And I've said that when we surpassed it here, right, on June 1st or May 31st. I said, okay, well, actually we surpassed it on May 30th. That's when I first pointed out this resistance line. I said we need to get above it and hold above it, and then we can talk about the next resistance. Well, we got above it, held above it, actually wicked down to it perfectly on June 1st or May 31st, but then June 1st we went below it, and of course then we went way below it. So again, we need to recapture 31.3, hover above it for a few days, and then if we can do that, if we can stay above it for a few days, I'm not going to say, oh, well, if we stay above 31.3 for a few days, we might go to 32 and then we might go to 33. No, I think the longer term goal, right, or target is 37. Again, it's not going to happen in a week or 2 weeks probably. Maybe it will, I don't know, but I think the longer term implication of staying above 31.3 for at least maybe a week is that we go to 37. And that might happen in a month, maybe 2 months, but it's going to happen, and sooner than going back down to the support line, right? That's my operating theory at this point. My operating theory at this point is that we're going to go to 37 before we revisit that support line. Once we get to 37, we'll have to see what happens. Maybe we get rejected off of it and come back down to that support line. If we get above 37, then we're going to talk about my descending channel that we're in, and that big resistance line that's above us, because we're in that descending channel and we've been in it for over a year, and I pointed it out repeatedly, and that chart is way better. It looks way better than all those other charts I showed you, with the exception of the last one. So, hey, if you're getting any value out of this, please pause the video, pause it, pause, and give me a like, give me a subscribe, because I think this is valuable content. And once we break up and start going up, you're going to want to pay attention to the resistance lines that I got above, because they've held for over a year and a half, and when we break them, all-time highs are on the way, I think. And maybe that doesn't happen this year. Maybe it does, but we'll have to see, right? You have to play it level by level. So I appreciate everybody joining. Thank you for entertaining me and giving me this forum. I appreciate you watching. I love you all. I hope you're having a great weekend. Hope you're all staying safe and healthy, and unlike me, who's getting rid of the COVID, it's almost gone. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, follow me on Twitter at @crypto_liberal. I love you. Peace, love, and ban the guns.